are dealing with severe mental illness or extreme poverty. You mix those things with somebody who's addicted to drugs, and it's going to get ugly.
Right.
You know, somebody's going to be homeless.
Yeah.
In 300 meters, merge onto A9.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
But then there's also drugs that can help people get off of these things. Like
That's right.
Ibogaine, that's absolutely illegal, but people have had great benefits in going to Mexico and going to these Ibogaine retreats, and then they come back and they have no problems with any of these drugs.
Have you ever done that one?
No.
Is it a psychedelic one?
Well, I think it's categorized as a psychedelic, but it's a disassociative.
Continue on A9 for 68 kilometers.
It's a disassociative, I think. What is a? Let's look at what is the okay.
It's a dissociative psychedelic.
What it does is the people that have taken it. I'll say Ibogaine is a dissociative psychedelic with how do you say that word? Oneric properties that has multiple aforementioned anti-addictive mechanisms, as well as the ability to generate therapeutic psychological insights, suggesting promise in treating alcohol use disorders. So that the people that I know that have gone over there, my friend Ed Clay went over there because he had a problem with pills, and it cured him of it, and nothing else would. Except for a real problem. He had back injury, got on oxycodone or one of those, and had a real issue with getting off of it, but recognized like, hey, I've got a problem. I have to figure out a way to deal with this, and then went to Mexico, went through an Ibogaine retreat, did it, came back, and said, oh my God, why isn't this legal? And then started a center of his own in Mexico because of that. I think that what it does to people is it lets them recognize what are the patterns that's falling them into this addiction cycle, and what is wrong with them, what trauma have they experienced when they were younger that's causing them to try to escape.
Yeah, it's for a lot of people, I think drugs like that are kind of like psychological resets.
Yes.
You know, and like you mentioned before, we've seen this. There's a whole bunch of studies coming out now with MDMA, with psilocybin,
Yes.
and treating people who have severe PTSD, depression, anxiety, end-of-life concerns. You know, you get diagnosed with terminal illness, and you feel like you don't even have the fucking will to live, and then you take a trip on the right substance, and all of a sudden you feel hope, you feel happy.
Yes.
You know, and so these things have tremendous benefit, but it's a very weird approach that we've had from the top down now for a long time, where it's just viewed as just say no, it's all evil, it's all wrong. Look, these things are benefits, man. I mean, every morning I wake up, I have caffeine.
Yeah.
Caffeine's a fucking drug.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people don't think of it like that, but it's true. You go ahead, you have a Monster Energy, you have a Red Bull, you have some alcohol at night. Like, you're tweaking your consciousness in various ways, and it can be an enhancement for sure. I probably do better work on my show when I'm on a shitload of caffeine, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but then there's people that really enjoy Adderall, which gets slippery.
I used to like that. In college, I used to like that.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I tried it again, and I just felt too, like, zippy. It was like an uncontrolled high.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, it felt like, oh, I feel like productive, and I feel like I want to go do stuff. But as I got older, it became like, I feel too jittery.
What do you think changed? size as blackout in a can. Can you order it on Alibaba and get it shipped to America?
Probably, right? I don't see why not.
I think people could still get it. You can also, I think you could.
We should have we should have a Four Loko episode.
Oh, dude. Oh, man.
We should
It's a strong high.
Pure virginity episode. We should do that with a Protect Our Parks one day.
If you guys all drink, oh my God, you guys drink it for a logo, it would be crazy.
Find out if you can get it.
Even so it's even it's just strong. It's 12%, which is part of what a drink of beer is, maybe 5.
Yeah.
6, 7 if you're going wild.
9 if you're in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. This is 12. This is almost like shots of liquor.
And the problem is it tastes fucking good.
Ooh.
So you can down a can. You
Right.
can down a can and you're like, I like this.
Oh no.
And then it hits you later on.
Oh,
you're like,
no.
but you like it because it's up, down. You don't know what you're doing, but you feel good.
Calling it loose virginity is hilarious.
Yeah, they're asking to get banned, huh?
Well, I guess not in China. They probably can get away with stuff like that over there.
You think so? You think it's less regulated with substances? I have thought they were, because Trump, and this is Trump, so it could be wrong, but he always says in his speech, like, I asked Xi Jinping, do you have a drug problem here? Do you have a drug problem? And she says, no drug problem. We kill the dealers. And so he adds that in his stump speeches to make the argument, like, we should do that here.
Kill the dealers.
Which is hilarious, because he did the First Step Act, which was the opposite of that. It gave people a second shot if there was some low-level drug offense. And he pardoned Alice. It was one of the best things he did. He pardoned that poor Alice Johnson lady, this grandma who was involved in some weed sale or something years ago. Remember Kim Kardashian went to the White House and got a pardon? He pardoned her. Good on him. And now he's out there like, we should kill him. Kill the drug dealers.
I'm telling you that he's just saying that to rile people up.
It's hard with him, right? Because
Yeah.
he'll say anything.
Salesman.
He'll throw it against the wall. This is something I wanted to talk to you about. Trump versus DeSantis in 2024. Who's the favorite? Who do you think wins?
I don't know. Do you think that happens? It seems like they're positioning that, right? Let's see. But wouldn't the ultimate be they combine forces? But if DeSantis thinks
Never going to do that.
You don't think so?
No. Trump's ego, he would never team up. He's already been shitting on him for the past, month.
Yeah, but he shit on people before and brought him into the fold. Think about all the shit that he said to Ted Cruz and all those other people.
Yeah, but the difference is Ted Cruz cucked himself to Trump. So Ted bent the knee after a while.
Oh,
And what happened was, that was actually a really interesting story. So he went to the RNC and he said, vote your conscience, which basically was like, he wasn't endorsing Trump. He was saying, do whatever you want. I'm not endorsing him. Then he got a phone call from his billionaire donor daddy, Robert Mercer, I think his name is. And he was like, remember who you work for. And so Ted fell in line. And then he was phone banking for Trump with that Weasley face on, like, yeah, vote for Donald Trump. And so he fell in line. And so I don't think
DeSantis is not going to do that.
I mean, if he's smart, I don't think he would. Look, if you had a straight-up race, just Trump versus DeSantis, I actually think DeSantis could win that. But the problem for DeSantis is this. There's already a bunch of other assholes who nobody cares about who are jumping in the race, who are going to get 2%, 3%, and that all comes out of DeSantis' numbers and not Trump's numbers. So if you have a race with 10 different Republicans, 9 of them are not Donald Trump, 9 of them are splitting the non-Donald Trump vote, and there's one Trump who can win with 29% of the vote or something like that,
Right.
which is likely. Which is like Nikki Haley. She seems like she's going to run. She's a fucking total donor creation. Nobody gives a fuck about her. She's been told by rich people, yeah, you're the one, go ahead. She's going to get destroyed, right? But she runs. Mike Pompeo, he wants to run. John Bolton, like all these people are going to run. And then if you have all of them and DeSantis and Trump, you're handing it over to Trump. There are other Republicans who need to get in a room behind closed doors, talk it out and say, look, we all have egos here, but we got to put it aside. And they should dole stuff out. DeSantis could say, all right, who wants to be Secretary of State? Who wants to be Vice President? Let's make a deal so I'm the only one running against him, because that's the only way they're going to take him down.
Do you think that's how it goes?
I don't, because they don't have that level of organization. They don't, and you have a whole bunch of giant egos. So I think what's likely is they all run, and Trump wins with like 30% of the vote. Because, it's first past the post voting. If he gets 30%, and then closest to him is 21% or whatever the fuck, Trump wins.
And it's in the primary, so it's all registered Republicans.
Correct. Correct. So it's an interesting situation. And Crystal and I, and Soccer as well, we've been having this debate back and forth, because there was a period there after the midterm loss where there were a bunch of polls showing DeSantis up comfy on Trump. It was like DeSantis by double digits, right? And we were having the debate where I was like, no, I think DeSantis is the favorite. He is the favorite. But now, just recently, new 3 or 4 polls came out. Trump's back up double digits. And so it could be a heavyweight slugfest, but also, I don't know if he has the balls to like jump right in and take him on. You know what I mean? Because he is the heir apparent. He is like Diet Donald Trump in a sense. So he might feel like if I just wait till 2024, January 6th. He was a big-time election denier. Like, all the election deniers, all the ones who really cuddled up to Trump, those are the ones who lost. The more like old-school Republicans, like Kemp in Georgia, and he's the guy who said to Trump, remember Trump said, find me 11,000 votes after 2020?
Yes.
That's the guy who was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And that guy won his election easy in Georgia. So basically, the more non-Trump Republicans did better. And so, you know, there's a real weakness there. And he was siloed off on Truth Social for a while. He wasn't like, he sort of lost his normie touch a little bit. You know what I mean? He was getting too wacky. And so DeSantis was the heir apparent, but now things are changing.
Do you think that Trump comes back to all those social media platforms? Like, what is his? I read something about his deal with Truth Social, that it might be up soon.
Oh, if that's true, that's interesting. I did read that he's planning on coming back to both Facebook and Twitter. I did read that, but to your point, yeah, my understanding was he had a deal with Truth. So the whole value of the company is tied to Trump being on it.
Exactly.
And so he pulls out of that. He's pissing off a lot of people who invested a lot of money in that company, which, you know, he's done shit like that in the past, so I don't see why he wouldn't do it now. But look, he kind of needs it. He needs to be back on Twitter. He needs to be back on Facebook.
Right, because if he's on Twitter, that's where people are going to go.
Correct.
It's more accessible. The Truth So I haven't been at Truth Social, have you?
No.
Let's go to Truth Social and just see what an average, like what the front page looks like on Truth Social. Because I'm fascinated, because it's one of those like neighborhoods that I never go into.
Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Like, let's see how you guys are living.
Trump land Twitter. You know, that's all it is.
Let's see. Click on learn more. Accept.
They're going to make you sign in. Yeah, they're going to make you create an account to do it.
Make yourself a little account there, Jamie. Wait. Use your real email too. I want to see what kind of shit you can do whatever you got to do, but I'm sure you got some burner emails. We all do. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see what they have, because like every time they create an alternative platform, it always winds up being but Fox News is always able to find an outlier, usually old and non-credible, that makes me look as bad as possible. They work with the club for no growth and losers like Karl Rove, and their board member Paul Ryan. Globalists all. In any event, we are winning big. MAGA.
Doesn't like Fox News now, is that what that says?
Well, he's always in some sort of battle for ultimate loyalty.
That's right. That's his game.
And
Yeah.
when people step out of line, he goes after them, and they panic, and then they soften their approach. And so it's a very offensive sort of way of doing
And
stuff.
to this point, it worked, but now it's starting to work less because he's got so many enemies. Because so many people everybody on Fox News was criticizing him when he lost the election. When all of his candidates shit the bed, they were like, you know what? Maybe it's time for a new direction, and he lost it all.
So the Bannon trial. So there's all these different things that you can follow.
It says there's 58 people talking about it. What is that? This is a small chat room.
Yeah, I don't think this is how many people are actually on Truth Social? Look at that, 309 people talking, 127 people talking. That's not big.
I mean, look,
tiny
if
ass
anything,
numbers.
props to them for being honest about the numbers, because a lot of these alternative sites just lie.
Right.
You know, Facebook was caught lying about their video views, right? This was years ago.
Really?
You had whole news channels that went belly up because they bet on Facebook over YouTube, and Facebook just lied about the numbers. And when the advertisers figured that out, they pulled all the fucking money. And so you had these people who were like big YouTubers or had their own news sites, and then they went to Facebook, and then they ended up losing everything because they were rigging the numbers. It was a big scandal, yeah.
But why did they go there exclusively?
Because they were told that like this is the new place. Look at the numbers they're getting. This is amazing. This is where you're going to make most of your money. So a lot of them went exclusively over to Facebook.
But was there a financial incentive to go exclusively to Facebook?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't seem like it makes sense that you wouldn't want to be on both platforms.
Yeah, I mean that's the smart thing to do, right? To do both platforms.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I'm actually on Spotify now.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Shout out Spotify. Doing my show as a
weren't
podcast
for
now.
a long time?
No, I was only YouTube for a very long time.
Interesting.
But
So
now
are you on video on Spotify as well?
No. I don't even know if they have that option for somebody like me. You know what I mean? Like, because I didn't have any conversation with anybody at the company or anything. We just started posting my show as a podcast on Spotify as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many video podcasts there are on Spotify now.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I only listen to you and Breaking Points on Spotify anyway. And so you have the video. I don't think they have video, no. They're just audio.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, how many videos are on Spotify?
To be honest, I'm not even sure how I would check that. I'm trying to think about it right now. I'm Googling some stuff, but I'm not sure how you would find the database of that, because you kind of just have to check the podcast, I think.
So you were on iTunes or Apple Podcasts.
So that's actually the only podcast platform I'm not on.
Really?
Yeah, somebody had taken my name before me. Like, I used to do my show on this little nothing site called Blog Talk Radio, and people would take it from that and then put it on Apple. And that account is still there, so I don't have my name on that platform. So all the other podcast outlets, I'm there.
Contact them?
I mean, it's impossible to get in contact with these fucking people. We've tried. I mean, if anybody, hey, help me out, anybody out there, I would really appreciate that. But we have...
It says as of November, it's available for most creators worldwide.
also read an article by a software engineer that back-engineered the TikTok's program.
Yeah.
And they said, no, this is the most invasive software we've ever looked at in terms of like what it does to your computer, how it checks everything you're doing, it monitors your keystrokes, listens to your recordings, like it has access to your microphone.
Yeah, I think they're both right, honestly. I think they both make a very good case. The TikTok one's been interesting to me because, like, I see all the arguments that people make, the ones who are like, hey, we got to ban this thing, because I think it's true. The Chinese government's probably data farming everybody, and they have everybody's information.
Yeah.
But I also just find it kind of weird that there's, like, a specific focus on them because they spy on everything we do on every platform. I mean, we had the Patriot Act, which goes all the way back to the War on Terror days, where
Yeah.
they're illegally collecting all of our metadata. I mean, you had Edward Snowden on the show. He can explain this stuff way better than I can explain this stuff. So yeah, you have YouTube, Google, I guess, is the parent company. So you have Google, you have Twitter, you have all these. They all have our data. They all, and I'm sure you've had this experience. It's gotten creepy. Like there was one time I was talking to Crystal, and I mentioned something. I never mentioned it before. Never Google searched it. I think I mentioned the cereal Wheaties or something like that. I go to Amazon. I got a fucking recommendation for Wheaties, bro. I was like,
What are the odds? What are the odds that that's just random? 0?
yeah, they were about 0.0001. Yeah, it was so. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's so invasive.
Yeah, it is weird because we've talked about that before. So many times we mention something and then you get an ad for it. And it's like, what is that coincidence? Because people want to say it's coincidence, but it can't be. So what are they doing? Are they just listening to everything you say?
I mean, Alexa's probably the worst, right?
Alexa's
People have Alexa.
Sneaky little bitch.
Fucking robot in your house who's spying on your ass.
All the time.
List of the top 10 sites based off of daily active or monthly active users, I guess.
Rank amongst social media platforms. So Facebook is number 1, YouTube is number 2, and then there's WhatsApp, which is not really a social media app, it's a messaging app.
Right.
Then you have Instagram, WeChat, and then TikTok. What is that, man? What's MAUs? What does that mean?
Monthly active users.
Oh, come on. There's only 1 million on TikTok? That's bullshit.
I think it's a billion.
Yeah, it's 1,000 million, so a billion. Yeah.
I'm so stupid.
But
Facebook Messenger, interesting. 988 million. It's just below that.
Doesn't Facebook own all 5 of these companies? 4 of these?
Facebook does not own YouTube.
No, not that one, but WhatsApp, Instagram.
Yes. Do they own WeChat? Who owns WeChat? What is WeChat? I don't even know what that is.
Same kind of thing, I believe.
What's WeChat?
That's WhatsApp.
There's a new messaging app called IQ that the UFC is using. I saw ads for that. I'd never heard of that before either. Do you know what?
I'm too old for this shit.
Then what am I?
I can't keep up. I can't keep up with all this stuff.
It seems China. It's a Chinese thing. WeChat China. Yes.
So it's the WhatsApp of China, right? That's the gist of it.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people in other countries use WhatsApp. Like you go to other countries, you talk to people, they go, what's your WhatsApp?
Right,
I'm like,
yeah.
oh.
Now, they are encrypted, right? Isn't WhatsApp encrypted?
Yes, it's encrypted.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that didn't change recently? I feel like maybe that changed.
I do not know.
No? Okay.
I rarely use WhatsApp, but
I used to. I don't really use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to use it. Not much anymore.
That's how I talk to Zuckerberg. We WhatsApp each other.
Because he probably wanted. He's like, hey man, look, FBI's listening, CIA's listening. Let's go over here.
I'm sure. But it's they should be able to listen to that too, though. If they can monitor your keystrokes, you tell me they can't monitor your keystrokes on an encrypted application.
I mean, my understanding is that encryption was the way to protect yourself from that. But I don't know much about this stuff, so you can't take my word for it.
Signal says.
Every WhatsApp message is protected by the same signal encryption protocol that secures messages before they leave your device. When you message a WhatsApp business account, your message is delivered securely to the destination chosen by the business.
Yeah, end-to-end encryption.
End-to-end encryption. Okay, so it's basically very similar to Signal, which I use.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things. Twitter DMs. That's one of the things. You should talk to Elon about that because it's totally. They can
Open.
see all of that shit.
Yeah.
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is wild. They monitor people's. Well, not only that, there was a link that I tried to send someone on Twitter DM back during the censorship-heavy days of COVID. I could not send the link.
They did that with the Hunter Biden article.
Yeah.
You couldn't even DM it.
Wow.
You couldn't even DM it.
Crazy.
Crazy.
It's crazy now that we know that it's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they had like intelligence officials like, this is Russian disinformation.
And they knew it was true.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. The whole thing is so wild that what a concerted effort
just did what Zuckerberg did, just algorithmically suppress it,
Yeah.
nobody would even have known about it. Nobody would have said anything. People would have complained, but it would have been, in and out of the public consciousness. But because they overreach so much,
Yeah.
people are like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is crazy. This is insane.
It's such an overreach, and it also really undermines people's confidence in intelligence agencies, unfortunately.
Dude, be skeptical of everything you hear. Like, look, okay. When it comes to the FBI, yes, I could point to some things that they've done where it was like, good on you. They went after the mafia, they went after the Ku Klux Klan. Like, they've done some good work, right? But at the same time, they also went after Martin Luther King Jr. They sent him a letter that was like, hey man, we know what you're doing. We know you're cheating on your wife. You probably should just kill yourself.
Is that what they said?
Absolutely, yeah. They said you should commit suicide.
Whoa.
Yeah,
The FBI sent a letter saying you should kill yourself.
That's
Do
right.
we have access to that?
Yeah, I think we can get it now. Yeah. You never seen it?
I don't know if we have. Maybe I forgot.
So what they do, the FBI, like they're not ideological in a traditional partisan sense. What they are is they're all about protecting the establishment and the status quo. So if they feel like a threat is coming from the right, they'll go after the right. If they feel like a threat is coming from the left, they'll go after the left. There it is.
So, King, there's only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has a definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation.
Now they tried to do this to Malcolm X as well, but he lived a squeaky clean life. He was not cheating on his wife.
Look how this is written. No person can overcome facts, not even a fraud like yourself. Lend your sexually psychotic ear to the enclosure. You will find yourself in all your dirt, filth, and evil and moronic talk exposed on the record for all time. I repeat, no person can argue successfully against the facts. You are finished. You will find the record for all time. Your filthy, dirty, evil companions, wow, male and female, giving expression with you to your hideous abnormalities. This is crazy. So this is the 60s.
And they're not even the worst of the intelligence agencies, Joe. The CIA is way worse. Have you ever listened to the Blowback podcast?
No.
You would love that podcast. So they go into the history. I think they do one on the Iraq War. They give you everything that led up to it, why they did it, what the people were saying to each other behind the scenes, what the motivations were. They do it with our war on Cuba, like Bay of Pigs, and how we were trying to get rid of Fidel Castro. They walk you through all this. They do a phenomenal job. And basically, I mean, the CIA, their whole job was like paramilitary for the U.S. government, trying to topple, in this case, Cuba, to put back in a puppet dictator. Because the guy who came before Fidel Castro was Batista, and he was a vicious dictator. And basically, Cuba was like a gangster mafia state. You had, like, famous gangsters had a stake in the casinos over there. It was like the playground of the U.S., basically. And so people there were terribly exploited. That guy was a vicious dictator. He was toppled by Fidel Castro, and then it was the mission of the CIA for so long. We got to get this fucker out of there. And it's all the stuff's on the record. All the stuff's, it's incredible, the stuff that, I mean, even today, like what we're doing with Venezuela, what they were doing with Cuba back then, where we're trying to overthrow. It happened under Trump. It was continuing under Biden. Now it's actually changing a little bit because Saudi Arabia's acting a fool over their oil, and they're not giving us as much as we want. And so now you have the U.S. government is sort of slowly opening talks with Maduro. Yeah, maybe we can be friends because they got a lot of oil in Venezuela.
So what happened with Saudi Arabia that this relationship soured? I mean, how much of it does anything have to do with the Jamal Khashoggi murder?
I think a lot of it does, yeah. So when Trump was in there, yeah, they did. MBS killed Jamal Khashoggi. They chopped him up into little bits and pieces, and Trump didn't even give like lip service to doing the right thing. He didn't even say like, don't do that. That's fine. He did nothing. He did not. In fact, he continued sending them weapons and money.
Wait,
and so,
didn't he say something like we do similar things?
I think that was in context of a different interview when he was talking to Bill O'Reilly before the Super Bowl. Anyway, yeah, so Biden, mouthed some of the right things about Jamal Khashoggi, and like I think he said we're going to make Saudi Arabia the pariah state that it should be. He said something like that, and when MBS heard that, no. So he started talking to Russia. He started talking to a lot of our enemies and like making deals with Iran. No, not Iran. They hate Iran. He was making deals with were just pretending. Trump was pretending, like, yeah, that's the president now. He's the president. So now Maduro, this is the real
Very,
president.
very ignorant about Venezuela, unfortunately. I don't really know exactly what's going on there.
Yeah, well, they were. I mean, they're so reliant on oil. Remember, Hugo Chavez was the leader there.
Mhm.
They were doing okay based, with their oil, but when we sanctioned them, then they had nothing. It became a super poor state, massively high inflation almost overnight because we cracked down on them. And so now with Maduro, it's a similar situation, but it looks like maybe relations will change if the situation with Saudi Arabia doesn't work itself out. Because we want to do more oil deals with them, and then all of a sudden you'll start seeing articles about, like, hey, maybe we had this guy wrong. Maybe he wasn't such a human rights abuser.
How do you keep track of all this shit?
I mean, I just
It must be
read.
overwhelming, though, to have...
I'm interested in it,
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I'm sure, but I mean, it must be still overwhelming, just the sheer amount of information that you have to fucking pay attention to.
I mean, I feel like it's actually very similar to you. When you're interested in something, you go down a rabbit hole and you'll read everything about it, and then you know a lot about the topics that you read about. And it's just the same thing for me. It just happens to be it was directly involved in politics that I'm interested in, and so I'm reading about foreign policy, I'm reading about domestic policy, I'm reading about economics, and, sometimes I'm good and I can remember the facts, other times I need to sort of jot them down when I'm doing my show and hit the points that I know I need to hit, you know what I mean?
Do you enjoy this as it is, or do you ever plan on going into politics?
Oh, no, I don't want to go into politics, no. I don't want to do that.
Isn't that wild?
It's a
though, 'cause you're
dirty
so
game.
interested in politics.
I mean, I'm interested in following it, learning about it, thinking of solutions, and calling bullshit on the system. That's what I'm interested in. If you actually are in the game, man, it's just a different world. I mean, it's dirty. I don't even know if somebody like me, because I would come out and say, I'm not taking billionaire money, I'm not taking corporate money, I'm going to raise it all through small dollar donations, and I'm still probably going to only come up with 1/10 the amount of money I would need to even be competitive. And then when you add the media into the game too, and their effect, then you're done, because they'll dig up every little thing I've ever said in my life, go through my old tweets and go through my old YouTube. They'll find things, take them out of context, post them, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's over.
But you enjoy the commentary aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just find this stuff interesting. I like to share the things that I read that I think are interesting, because there's so many things I come across where I'm like, damn, I want people to know about this and know. I think the media, they just go towards the dumbest stories, the most sensational stories, the cheap clicks, the cheap headlines. But if I'm reading about the Inflation Reduction Act, which passed, and I'm going through the provisions, I'll be like, this is a really good fucking provision. Nobody's even talking about this. People don't even know what just happened. Just to give an example, remember when there was this bill called the PACT Act, which was struck down in Congress, and the PACT Act was to give health care to toxic burn pit victims who are U.S. veterans. They voted that down. They said, no, we're not going to give health care to these toxic burns. So what happened was Jon Stewart saw that.
Yeah.
God bless him. He gets out there and he starts doing interviews. He starts calling these people out by name, like, this motherfucker voted against it and this asshole voted against it, and I brought these guys here who are struggling to fucking breathe, and they're going to tell you what their situation is. And that was an instance of, there was so much shame brought about by Jon Stewart going on the crusade that the media actually got whipped into shape and were like, oh shit, we got to talk about this. So Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, they all talked about it, and that actually led to change, because then they had another vote and it passed. And so when I look at that, I think yes, that's I see my role similar to that. I'm nowhere near as big as Jon Stewart is, right? But that's one of those things where when the story first came out, nobody's fucking talking about it. They just voted down a bill to give health care to toxic burn pit victims who are U.S. veterans. Nobody was talking about it.
In 3 kilometers,
And so I look at that and I'm like, oh,
in 3 kilometers, take exit 43 Trockau towards Trockau, Grossweinstein.
it is broken. It is broken. If you can't look at that, their outrage meter is broken. You know what I mean? They get outraged at all the weird, a comedian makes a joke that some people are offended by, and it's like, oh, let's talk about this for fucking a week.
Distractions.
Right? It's just distractions. And so I view my job as let me tell people the things that I think are actually interesting, that I think they should know, that should be the news of the day, the big story of the day. And so that's my role.
The difference between someone being outraged at a legitimate, important thing versus what's going to get clicks. That's part of the problem, right? Because what they're looking for in the media is the things that are going to get the most attention.
Yeah, I think I agree, but I also think they're short-sighted. I think they sell people short in terms of what is interesting. Because if you tell people all the information, the real world is crazy enough. The actual things that are going on are crazy enough where they are kind of like shocking and interesting. But yes, it's easier to get the cheap headlines with cheap topics, and that's what they do. They lean into that. And also, they have a financial incentive not to talk about the real issues.
In 800 meters, take exit 43 truck out towards Truckau, Grossweinstein.
System.
Yeah.
Because they're the beneficiaries of the system.
There's so many different things to think about, which is part of the problem. If someone has a job, and during that job they're required to use all their resources to benefit the company, and they're working on things.
Take exit 43 Truckau, then turn left.
Okay? And then when they're off work, then they're supposed to be paying attention to Venezuela and Jeffrey Epstein and the Twitter files and the this and the that, and like, my God, there's so much. And then they're getting their news, many people, from 1 hour mainstream news broadcast where they do a cursory
Turn left.
examination of a few very specific topics.
That's right, and I don't blame those people for not knowing about something. It's not their fault. Like you said, they're working all day, they're busy, they're just trying to pay the bills, and they're just getting fed
Continue for 1 kilometer.
absolute garbage. So I'll give you another example of something I thought was amazing is they did this extended child tax credit about 2 years or so ago, and that reduced child poverty by 50%. 50%. And then they let it expire. And now it's just gone. Stop and think about that. We reduced child poverty by 50% like that. And nobody stopped and said, well, hold on. This kind of implies that child poverty is a choice. Like we made a choice as a nation to keep the child poverty rate what it was.
In 500 meters, turn right.
And so you had this brief moment where they reduced it 50%, and then that just goes away.
How long was a brief moment for?
A year? You know, it was part of the IRA? It was part of one of the COVID relief bills. They did the extended child tax credit, people.
Turn right.
Struggling, and they said, we'll give you $3,000, I believe the number was, for every child who is 6 or younger. 6 or younger.
Continue for 6 kilometers.
Anyway, one grouping was $3,000, the other group was $3,600 per child. And it was an amazing impact. I mean, there were studies coming out showing that like depression and anxiety were reduced as a direct result of those people who got those payments. And this is something that nobody talks about. It wasn't a big deal, in the media. And
I've never heard it.
See, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know another great example is you've had Andrew Yang on the podcast before. You've talked about UBI before. There was a study that came out of Stockton, California. There's the mayor in Stockton, California is a guy by the name of Michael Tubbs. And he decided to do this UBI pilot program, which is like, okay, I'm going to try to get $500 a month to a group of people and just see what happens. See how this changes their lives. See what they spend the money on and all that stuff. So they did this program. 37% of the money went to food. 22% went to like home goods and clothes and shoes and stuff like that. 10% went to car costs, and 11% went to utilities. Less than 1% actually went to like alcohol or fucking off type shit.
Really?
Right? Yes. And so this was an example, like UBI worked, and it had the effect of, by the way, it didn't even affect unemployment. Employment went up. Unemployment went down when you do this program.
Do you think that that's scalable?
I mean, all the evidence that we have right now is yes. There's obviously a tipping point where, like, if you give too much, you might disincentivize people from doing other things.
Right. So what's the right number?
That's the question. I mean, there are people much smarter than me who will debate that and find the right line.
And what did they give in Stockton?
They gave $500 a month, no strings attached.
That's a reasonable amount because you can't live off that.
And it just helped people.
You. Yeah.
Employment went up, productivity went up, people self-reported better well-being, lower stress.
So
kept people out of debt.
Imagine if they scaled that nationwide, what the implications would be, and where would the money come from? Like, that's one of the things that I found fascinating about Bernie's ideas, is that Bernie wanted to take a very small percentage of stock trades, these things where they're speculating, and it was like less than a cent for each one of them, and then that would generate an enormous amount of money because of the amount of stock trades. And his argument was it wasn't going to hurt business. but it was going to greatly benefit people.
Yeah, I mean, we have tremendous body of evidence that redistribution works really well. I mean, this is what FDR was about. This is what the New Deal was about. Yeah, you tax the wealthy a little more. Right now, there was a study that came out a few years ago after the 2017 Trump tax cut bill. 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. And it just, I mean, they pretended like it was for the working class, but it wasn't for the working class. It was for the wealthy. And so now we have billionaires actually pay a lower effective tax rate than a middle class person. The effective tax rate for a billionaire is now lower than it is for a middle class person. And you can fact check me on that, Jamie. Yeah. So, in other words, we're doing a regressive tax system. It's not even a flat tax. Flat tax is when somebody says, like, hey, do like 15% across the board, everybody pays 50%. It's not even that. It's a working class person pays higher tax rate than a billionaire does. So as a percentage.
If they did this universal basic income thing, like say if they kept that number $500 a month and they do it across the country, like what income bracket would receive this? You don't
It would be universal. It'd be universal. Everybody gets
to billionaires.
Yeah, but you're going to tax them more, so it's going to cancel out and then some. You know what I'm saying? It's basically an attempt to try to get people who need the money the fucking money. That's all it is.
Right.
You know? Bill Maher had a good line. He's like, I did a study. You know what poor people are lacking? Money.
Huh.
And it's like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people got sour on the idea of universal basic income when they saw how people didn't want to work when they got COVID relief.
I think that was largely bogus.
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, because look at the unemployment rate right now, right? It's like, what, 3.5% or something like that? It's like the unemployment rate was relatively stable in this area, but there were all these media articles about like, oh, nobody wants to work because they got one check for $1,400.
This is also a thing that happened to people where their employment was taken away and then they had to reassess their values and what they wanted to do with their life. I think that had a significant impact. Because there was a lot of people that were like deep in the grind and thought they were going to be rewarded for it, and then all of a sudden, boom, everything's taken away from them. And then like, what the fuck am I doing? I want to do something different.
It was a real wake-up call for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that. And that's why you see a lot of people now like, I don't want to go back to the office.
Yeah.
If my job wants to make me go back, I'm not going to fucking go back to the office.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. But, you know, RV sales went through the roof during the time of the pandemic. Some people were like, hey, you know, I want to travel. I'm reassessing. And look.
In 600 meters, at the roundabout, take the third exit.
Good thing. I mean, there was a poll I read a long time ago. Only like 18% of Americans feel engaged when they're at work.
That's crazy.
Which is like, dude, less than 20% of the country likes their fucking job. This is like a crisis.
So crazy.
So of course you're going to have depression high, anxiety high, all these issues that are associated with that. I mean, you're lucky, I'm lucky. We happen to do things that we really like.
Yeah.
But imagine being somebody who doesn't like your job.
Yeah, well, I've been that person.
In 500 meters, turn right onto B2, B85.
Fast.
Me too, yeah.
You have too. Yeah, it's not a fun existence. The difference between the overall happiness of being able to do what you enjoy versus doing something that you have to do, it's immeasurable.
It's night and day.
The impact that it has on your psyche, the way you think about life, the way you think about the weekend, the way you think about Monday morning, it's just a totally different way of existence. And also, it's not like these people that are in that 18% that enjoy.
Turn right onto B2, B85.
Their job, like they suffer more. They're more, generally speaking, they're happier. They
Continue on B2 for 4 kilometers.
live better. They have a better possibility for the future. They're enthusiastic about it. Whereas the vast majority of those people that are doing something they don't want to do, they're barely even getting ahead. Like,
That's right.
What percentage of people are actually saving money and like putting together a nest egg? And look, how many people are living check to check?
Over 70%.
Jeez.
Over 70%. You know, Crystal did a good thing recently. There was some study that came out which showed the happiest people, what profession they're in, and the most depressed people. The happiest were farmers.
Really?
They were the happiest people. And then I believe the least happy were like lawyers, people who like work kind of office jobs.
And probably massive hours too.
Yeah,
That's
but
just gonna
the
wear.
theory was like the people who, and I'm forgetting the others that were at the top, but the theory was that like people who are more working with their hands, they're outside, they're actually doing something of value, that those are the people who are happier. And that makes sense to me, you know?
Farmers. farmers. That's a fucking hard job.
It is, yeah. And also there's fewer small farmers now. It's mostly the big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's shocking. Farmers. I would think it'd be like artists or something. Someone who does something that...
Some artists are tortured, you
Yeah,
know?
that's true too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why they're artists in the first place. They have all these emotions and conflicted ideas, and it comes out in their art.
But you've talked about the impact of nature too. You know, like when you're out in nature, and I feel I get it to a much lesser extent because the thing that I'm doing in nature is not really in nature, golf.
But it is in nature.
Well, yeah, you're out.
It's
the grass is there.
manipulated nature.
It is a manipulated nature, but like when I'm out there after I play, I feel fucking great. I feel great.
We were talking about people that are getting cancer from putting golf tees in their mouth. Do you know about that?
I did not know about that. That's fucking terrifying.
Well, you know, I knew a guy who got like severe cancer, and he was one of many people in his neighborhood because of runoff from a golf course. Because golf courses use so many pesticides and herbicides, and that this was getting into the water supply. And this guy has like a fake femur. He had bone cancer,
man.
so one of his femurs had to be replaced with like a rod. Yeah, heavy fucking shit. And Jamie, weren't you the one who was telling me about it?
Oh, yes. I'm reading a story on our favorite website, Snopes, that's actually true.
Whoa.
About a guy in the Navy who bit off a tee, and it almost killed him in like 10 days or something, it says.
What?
He had an allergic reaction, though, I believe, to the pesticide or fungicide.
He died 10 days later after a toxic substance had burned the skin from 80% of his body and caused major organs to fail. The toxic substance was determined to be, how do you say that, daconil, an FDA-approved fungicide that had been sprayed on the Army-Navy golf course twice a week. Prior, apparently had a hypersensitivity to the chemical used in the fungicide, causing a severe allergic reaction. That's one, but what I'm hearing about is mouth cancers. And
from the tea.
Yeah, so you're imagining they're spraying all these golf courses to keep them pristine and rolling nice, and then you put it in your mouth because you're like, you know, you have your hands are free.
I mean, how many things are like that we don't even think about now? We don't even know about. Like, you know, the Monsanto thing. What's the name of that? It's Roundup.
Yes.
The Roundup stuff. There's a lot of evidence that stuff causes cancer.
A lot of evidence.
And there's just a lot of places just like, we're just going to not...
In 300 meters, at the roundabout, continue straight onto Nuremberger Strasse, B2.
Air?
Well, not only that, have you seen the numbers when they look at people's urine and blood and they test how many people test positive for Roundup? It's extraordinary. Google that. What percentage of people that were tested found Roundup in their body? It's a very high number, and a lot of the shills were like, oh, it's a minimal amount of parts per million. And the parts per million of something that kill you, that you're not making me comfortable. Because also, here we go.
In 200 meters, at the roundabout, continue straight to stay on Nuremberger Strasse, B2.
Okay, according to Center for